Hi there, Charles Malone here, 4-H STEM educator. Today in the area of geospatial science, soil science, and we're pulling in some art. So, who would have thought that a few days ago when we changed our clocks from standard time that we'd be going to twilight zone? Well, here we are. This is my back room, which is now a studio, and my wife Lois, who is an education kindergarten teacher and quilter, is now a videographer. So we adjust, we change, we do things the way we need to. But anyhow, today I want to give you an idea on some of the mechanics and some of the materials and things that are needed to get into soil painting. We found this to be really popular, and it's something I believe will be utilized throughout the state, so if not beyond. So today I'm going to give you an overview of some of the supplies and the materials that you'll need to do soil painting. And then we'll go into a little bit of a demonstration on some of the procedures for mixing the paint and placing the paints on palettes and just moving forward with the project. So, first of all, some of the materials you'll need are in front of me here. You're going to need soil for painting, for making the paint mix. Okay. You'll need containers for putting the soil paint in, whether they're sealed containers for storing it later or kind of an open container. This is a recycled cookie container. You'll need stirrers of various sorts, plastic spoons, regular spoons. For small amounts, you can actually use Q-tips. There are some purchased supplies that are necessary, and those would be right here. We have something called acrylic for preserving paint projects when they're complete and dry. This is something called gesso. Gesso is primarily the base used for acrylic paints, and you can get this in any craft store. You have to remember to get the clear gesso though, not the white opaque gesso. It's the clear gesso. You'll need to purchase canvases or make canvases. I've got regular, I think it's 8x8 and 5x7 canvases that I'm showing here. Or what we also did, made our own canvases. This is actually made from muslin that we purchased, a couple yards of muslin. I opened the muslin up, used a roller for painting it with latex paint, and then we could cut out any size canvases that we want, and it really turned out great. In fact, they're suitable for framing. So I think that's a great idea too, especially if you have a large audience. Some other things that you're going to need in terms of supplies will be paper towels, newspapers, water, get ready for cleanup. It is painting, could be a little bit messy. Supply of paintbrushes, and you can get pretty good prices in craft stores on quantities of various size paintbrushes. Pencils. Each participant should have a pencil because we're encouraging them to sketch their drawing before they get involved, before they actually start painting. So, to get into the process, soil preparation and mixing the paint. Okay, first of all, it's really good to have some prepared like I have here, an assortment of different, various colors. But what we try to do is encourage the participants to collect their own soil from home so that they can bring it in and we can work with the whole spatial aspect of where soils are located. So if they bring it in, they need to prepare in advance, and I'll give you an example down here. We ask them to bring in about 1 cup of soil, but it has to be prepared and dried ahead of time. And this is an idea of how it can be done right here. Just take a cup of soil 3 or 4 days before the workshop and put it on a newspaper. I actually put the newspaper inside a cereal box so it's less messy. Then when they bring it in, you can work with it. And what you do is normally, if it doesn't have too many stones in it, you can roll the soil or pound it to smoothen the soil. And then you can filter it by sifting it. And so that's another thing. I don't think I mentioned, but you do need to have some sort of a rolling pin or sieve for sifting the soil. And if it's dry, it really separates out nicely. And you can take what's left and you can roll it and crush it further and sift it if you want. Or dispose of that and just use what you have here. And that's quite a bit of soil for paint right here. And then you can transfer it into a container and store it, and then mix your paint. Now, the ratio for paint is, it's pretty simple actually. It's 1 part water, 1 part gesso, and 8 parts soil. And then after you've added those ingredients, mix it with a spoon or any other kind of mixer, and until it's to the consistency that you want. Now, it depends on what you want. Some paints are very rough. They're kind of a coarse sieve, and people like that texture. It's kind of a sandy, rough texture. Or you can actually purchase finer sieves. I have a sieve here that I purchased online. It is literally the size of the mesh is 1/70th of an inch. It's actually used for painting for gold. But I got it online, and it makes a soil preparation so fine that it makes a smooth paint. So it depends on what people are looking for. It's fun to experiment, let your participants decide what they like, and go in different directions. Okay, here, where are we next? I talked about the mixing instructions. Something that I like to bring out in this activity is the ability to reuse, repurpose, recycle materials. You don't have to get brand new everything. I talked about recycling. You could actually use old fabric for making the canvases. Different kinds of containers can be used. This container here is actually a Valentine's cookie container. It works great. I set this out and I can reuse it by putting the lid on. Some of the containers that I've got here, this is one of my favorites. These are the K-Cup that you use in a curry. They actually have a very nice, they actually have a very nice liner. And that liner will actually hold the soil. You can mix small amounts of soil in here with a Q-tip, and even though there's a hole in the bottom of it, when you put a paint soil mixture in there, it will not leak through. You may not be able to store them for a long time in here, but they're great for single use. And it's a great way to save on resources. Here's another thing that I've discovered. If you're making a larger quantity of paint, when you're done painting, put them in one of these reusable water bottles, because when you're ready to paint again, it's so easy to mix it and shake it and then just put that amount of paint on the palettes. And one other thing I'll point out here is, what do we use for palettes? I think I've mentioned that you can use all kinds of purchased palettes like you see down here, or what we've been using is simply a paper or styrofoam plate. And then your participants can take a spoon, there should be a spoon in each color of soil paint, and just put the amount that they need on the plate, and then go back to their location and start painting and refill their palette if they need to. So that's how that works. I wanted to mention that the pencil was for drawing kind of a proposed idea of what you want to paint. I kind of etched a lighthouse on here that I hope to get to someday. But that's why we ask that each participant has a pencil to begin. So that's kind of an overview. We'll have a chance to discuss questions in detail outside of this little video clip. But two other things that I wanted to mention is in the area of safety and the area of platforms for presentation. Safety, we're dealing with soil. Technically, soil could have chemicals in it. It could have some sort of fungus or whatnot, but for the most part, if people collect soil in open fields, in agricultural areas, in backyards, it's going to be safe. But always keep that in mind when you're having kids collect. The other thing is, consider the platform that you're using. If it's a small group, In this day and age, make sure they're 6 feet apart. Get everything set up when we get back to a little bit more reality here. But you can also use this in venues like state fairs, community events, county fair. We've done it in those areas too. So just consider that you're going to need smaller quantities, disposable pallets and things like that if you have a large group that's going to be moving through all the time. So those are a few things to consider. So let's go back to kind of real time with our Zoom and see where we go from here. Thank you.